Hello and welcome along to your one-stop shop for the NFL. We'll keep you bang up to date with the latest news, the previews for this week's TV games, and if you like a flutter, we're running at a 75% success rate this season. This is Utter Punts.
47-yard touchdown run by the magical quarterback Lamar Jackson.
Big Keith Trailer, look at him rumble.
Yes, it's that time in your week where you plug into the best NFL conversation on planet Earth. It's Utter Punts time. Stick that rice in your sack, Santa. Go on.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl. Touchdown! No! No! 24-yard attempt. Oh, he hits the upright. It's no good. Derek Johnson, the all-time leading tackler in the history of the Chiefs. And he misses it. That's impossible. The Cardinals have knocked the Vikings out of the playoffs.
Utter Punts is an NFL podcast made by UK fans of the National Football League. We're blitzing the conversation all season long. I'm journalist and Giants fan Liam Bradford. Alongside me are two more menacing punts looking for the sack, which we will gladly provide if they don't buck their ideas up. Vikings fan Dave Keane joins us from Birmingham.
Kind of.
So poorly, it's unbelievable. Dave, it's okay. We will look after you. Alongside me here in Manchester is Ravens fan, the Statman Dan.
8 games this week. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
Is that as far as you're going to go? It's the season to be jolly. Yep. On the way this week, as always, we will keep you bang up to date with what's going on. We'll take a look at some interesting talking points that have come out of this week. Our Utter Punts of the week. We'll take a look ahead to this week in the NFL, and we're going to help you make some money with our big bet builder. Thanks for being with us. Like you had any choice whatsoever. Yes, hello, welcome along to Utter Punts. I'm Liam Bradford, this is Dan Horton, and the reason that Dave Keane is not on camera this week is that he's got the lurgy, haven't you, Dave?
Yes, I do. I don't know how you managed to give this to me, but I am blaming you, Lou. It's
well,
like you've sent it down with flipping internet or something.
It's the only way that it could have happened, because I've not actually seen you since the 6th of November. So, and the reason that Dave has decided that he's only going to run a profile pic this week is, he doesn't look great. You know, snotty nose, red eyes, not done his hair, his beard's a bit of a mess. So he's picked Tormund Giants Bane, which is celebrity lookalike, which you can understand.
The irony is that if he followed his own quarterback's advice, he could live in a glass box through the COVID virus and he'd probably be okay, wouldn't he?
Whoa. It's not COVID. I tested for that. I'm fine. Like, this is something entirely different, which no one they worry about. Maybe it tastes like chicken wings, so potentially.
I mean, I don't even know where to go with this conversation, chaps. It's been an interesting week in the NFL. I say interesting because we didn't have our greatest of weeks, did we, Dan? I think we should address this as early as we possibly can.
Absolute shocker.
Yeah. What happened?
Well, we backed. You followed Tom Brady, which was ridiculous, against the undrafted or 7th round pick, and he's making his first start. I mean, it was obvious he was going to win, I thought. Then I sort of picked the Patriots to be rubbish. They were rubbish, but they weren't as rubbish as the Woody Woodpeckers. And there was just a few upsets, wasn't there? Or a few games that were. I think the lineup last week was a bit tough. And I think there was a few things that we weren't really agreed on many of the games, which is rare. We normally do find a couple of weeks we're agreed on, and we started off with picking the Raiders, who should have won and lost, and it all went a bit wrong from there. That was Thursday night.
Yeah, and it was all a bit screwy, wasn't it? The whole thing. Did we get one right? Yeah, we got the Eagles, didn't we?
We got the Eagles right. We got the best team in football right against the Giants. Yeah, although Dave didn't.
We got the Patriots right.
Yeah, we did. Overall, we got a couple right. Yeah.
And besides which, I was coming down with an illness. No idea what your excuse was, Dan.
Just for the interest of sound quality, can I just move you like 6 inches further forward on that chair? Is that right? Just go on, keep going. Like your line. Yeah. There we go. Perfect. And now we can hear you properly. We're so relaxed on this podcast, it just sort of lays back and then we can't hear what's going on. Yeah. Right. Okay. So coming up on Utter Punts this week, we'll of course look ahead to the week coming up where there's hundreds of games. I say hundreds. There's 8. Which for us to keep an eye on, including some games on a Saturday. We'll talk about why that's the case. We'll go through our big bet builders. We'll review last week's games. Again, we've touched on it briefly. It's been a bit chaotic. But the talking point this week is a really, really interesting one, and that's coming up for you in just a sec. So this was put in the WhatsApp group a little bit earlier this week, where we said one team that we want to make the playoffs and one team that we don't want to make the playoffs. Dave, do you want to go first on this one?
Well, I mean, controversial, I guess. It definitely will be with a lot of Vikings fans, but I'd actually love to see the Lions make the playoffs because Dan Campbell deserves it. He is a coach who basically motivates his players to be as tough as they can be on the field. The Vikings have been described as a finesse team, which suggests maybe lacking a little bit of interior fortitude, maybe. I don't know. But the Lions just play with their hearts on the sleeves week in, week out. They're the embodiment of their coach. And, they did make the playoffs. I wouldn't want to be anyone who's facing them. And besides, it'd be kind of fun if 2 teams from the NFC North qualified for the playoffs and neither of them were the Green Bay Packers. I'd like that.
So you're going Lions for the one that you do want to make it?
Yeah.
So 100%. The one that you don't want to make it?
Well, I don't want the San Francisco 49ers to make it because they're freaking awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it, really. I mean, if Brock Purdy comes in and manages to sort of take a Super Bowl in his very first season, being Mr. Irrelevant in the draft as well, taking last overall, being an incredible story.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But I don't want that to happen. I want them to collapse down the stretch and not somehow to fail to make it, but they won't. They're just far too good. They're a fantastic side at the moment, so well balanced, it's unreal. And I don't even think they're going to miss Debo, even though he's going to be out injured for a while, isn't he? So yeah, we'll see.
They haven't seemed to miss anybody this season, the Niners. Every time we think that could be a problem, lose your starting quarterback, lose your second string quarterback, lose half your defensive line, lose Debo Samuel, it hasn't mattered a jot.
No, well, because they're balanced, and what they haven't had is injuries on the offensive line. Really, they've been pretty solid there, so they can put. And the way the scheme works is it's very quick release. So as long as you've got a good line, you can run the ball, and if you can run the ball, really, you can establish most things. And the only thing is these players missing is that sort of truly top level performance that you need probably when you get into the playoffs and into the Super Bowl. You'd need Debo back, you'd need Kittle 100%, but what they have earned the right, and if they can win this week, they've earned the right to probably give those guys a little bit of time to get back. Massive win for them against the Bucs on last weekend, and they're in pole position really to qualify into the playoffs. And I don't really think they even need to play at home in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Vikings are hosting the 49ers in the divisional round, I know where I'd be thinking the wise money would go. So Dave's right. They're a scary team, and certainly in that division. I'm glad they're over there and not in the AFC.
So same question goes to you, Dan. In who do you want to make the playoffs and who do you not want to make the playoffs?
I want the Jags to get in. I've had a bit of a problem with the Titans for a couple of years. They famously in a playoff game came and danced on the Ravens badge one year when they knocked us out, and then we went there and did the same to them next year and danced on there. So there's been a bit of need with them. So I don't really like the Titans, although they have made us some money this year, the Titans. But I want them out. I like the Jags. The way the Jags have played, I know they've been a bit inconsistent, but when they beat the Ravens in the fourth quarter a couple of weeks ago, they were brilliant, and Lawrence looked a real talent. And then they had a bad week again. I think the Lions went there and stuffed them, didn't they? Put 40 on them. But then this week, they absolutely destroyed the Titans, and they play the Titans again in a couple of weeks. So I know they've got a couple of tough games coming up, the Jaguars, but it's in their hands, and they'd be a really fun team in that AFC, much more fun than watching Derrick Henry get the ball 40 times for 3 yards of carry, certainly. So I'd like them to get in. I'd like them to get in, not at the expense of the Jets, is what I'd say. I do want to see the Jets in the playoffs. Team out, Bucs, get out.
Yeah,
couple of reasons.
They stink.
They're awful to watch.
Yeah.
They are hard work and
smelly.
Well, I've sort of a bit of a gripe on them for a few years, but actually the most important, if they hadn't have come back against the Saints, that NFC South would now be a 3-way tie, which is quite exciting. But the main reason I want the Bucs out is because I want the Panthers in as well. just because Dave picked them to win the division at the start of the season, and it was ridiculous. But they look like the best team in that division now, and so I'd like the Bucs out, and I'd like the Panthers in. So Bucs out, Jags in for me.
Very wise when I'm well.
Yeah, not quite firing on all cylinders this evening is our Dave. I'm going to be really obvious as a Giants fan here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say I'd really quite like the Giants to make the playoffs. I'm not sure that that's likely at the moment, given the skid that they're on and just being unable to sort of find anything. And with the Commanders this weekend, it's not looking positive. And in the same vein, I'd quite like the Commanders not to make the playoffs. And again, it's purely selfish reasons. It's because I'd like the Giants to make it. I'm not sure the Giants deserve to make the playoffs from overall performances this season, but certainly from a turnaround point of view, from the level of performance that they've got from what is essentially the same squad with a new head coach, I just think that it would be a just reward for Brian Daboll to make the playoffs. I know they wouldn't go any further than sort of first round, but it would be good. And yeah, anybody at that expense would be absolutely marvellous.
It's not the Commanders probably are not the main competition. You've got to be looking at teams like the Lions and like the Seahawks, really, because the Seahawks are in a bit of a free fall, and if you can catch them, they've got a tough running as well. You might get ahead of them.
We spoke quite a lot about Gino at the beginning of the season. In the first sort of 7 or 8 episodes of Utter Punts, Gino was a regular feature. He's come out this week and said that he's been playing too aggressively, almost like he's been trying too hard to sort of find the Seahawks a win. Is there anything in that, or is it just excuse finding? Dave, what do you think?
No, it's very much there. You can see the reason why he was so effective earlier in the season is he just kept the chains moving, and then the big play would open up. He's looking for it too early. He's hanging on to the ball too long, and he's kind of looking a little bit more like he did when he was with the Jets, where people felt that he hung on to the ball a bit too long and basically invited the pressure. But he's much older, more mature now. He's recognised it himself, I think. I can see the Seahawks correcting and tightening up as they go down the stretch. They had a very young team, and the draft class has been excellent, but there have been a few little holes appearing. But Pete Carroll did such a good job coaching this bunch up earlier this season. I mean, I didn't expect them to be anywhere near playoff contention, to be honest with you. So he's done an incredible job. And I think that they will recover down the stretch and possibly sneak in the playoffs. Yeah, do you know what? I think they probably will do, because they always beat us when we come across them. So yeah, they'll be there.
You go and have a slurp of that hot honey and lemon, will you? Just save that voice, because we're going to need you a little bit later on when we get to the previews of the 8 games. Look, Utter Punts has been working behind the scenes this week to try and get some bits and pieces moving. So on that note, I would like to give a shout out to Renee and Simon from End Zone Kit, all right? They're out in Denver. Renee's out in Denver. Hello. Hopefully, watch this space. We'll have something for you to be able to get your teeth stuck into with End Zone Kit over the course of the next couple of weeks. Cross fingers. So more on that to come on Utter Punts. Right, I think give everybody a bit of a chance to take a breather. Let's wrap up last week, shall we? Because, well, it completely cocked up all of our predictions. That's what it did from beginning to end. It was terrible. First up, it's Raiders at Rams. Baker Mayfield was waived on Monday, picked up by the Rams on Tuesday, practiced Wednesday, and on Thursday led his new team to 2 late fourth quarter touchdowns and a 17-16 win over the Raiders. Clutch, clutch, clutch. 22 of 35 for 230 and a pair of touchdowns for Baker. He said after the game, "I don't know if you could write it any better than that." Eagles at Giants next. One-way traffic, this one. As we all predicted on the pod last week, Eagles are into the playoffs thanks to 3 more touchdowns from the man who's now favourite for the MVP title, Jalen Hurts. He bagged 2 through the air and rounded it off with one using those magical feet to crown off a 48-22 win over the Giants. Bucs at Niners. And right, so if you didn't already think that the Niners were among the favourites to win the Super Bowl this season, you must do now. Their third string quarterback dismantled Brady and the Bucs with a 35-7 win in Santa Clara. Brock Purdy was the final pick in the NFL draft this season and becomes the first quarterback ever to beat Brady at the first time of asking. All of this came after a monstrous hit on the opening play of his first drive too. Lap it up, Brock. Lap it up. Dolphins at Chargers. Look, just go home, NFL. You're clearly pissed. The Chargers produced potentially their best game of the season to beat the Dolphins 23-17 on Sunday night. Justin Herbert threw for 367 and a touchdown, and the win moved them briefly into the final AFC playoff spot ahead of the Jets. That is, until this happened. New England Patriots 27, Arizona Cardinals 13, and Kyler Murray's season is done. An ACL injury means he's not coming back. Raekwon Miller was the star here. He spied a loose ball on the ground to give the Patriots the go-ahead score. So, let me set the tone for you. One-on-one, linebacker versus lineman, and it turned out to be touchdown time for Miller, who said post-game, if I can't beat a lineman, then I don't deserve to be out here. I mean, you've got to love that attitude. Yeah, it was a bit of a bonkers one in the NFL this week. All wrapped up for you there. Let's hope that this week's 8 games are a little bit easier for us to deal with. On the way, we're going to be doing our Utter Punts of the Week. We always finish on that, so we'll find somebody that we're not particularly happy with and see whether we can adorn them with the glittering badge on their chest of being the Utter Punt of the Week. We'll also preview all of the games that are coming up this week. Now, there's a little bit of confusion this week because we've got 2 Saturday games as well as the 3 Sunday games, the Thursday night game and the Monday game, and there's games all over the place. So we'll run you through absolutely everything, and if you miss anything, don't worry about it because you'll be able to find it on our socials, our social media. On Instagram, we're at UtterPuntsUK, and on Twitter, we're at UtterPuntsPod. It would be lovely to hear from you. Would be really lovely to hear from you. Kino's already corrected me to say, Liam, there's 3 Saturday games. There's not actually. There's 2 Saturday games because one is at 1 o'clock on Sunday morning, Dave, so you can get straight in the bin, can't you? Yes, right.
That just means there's 4 Sunday games though, so one of them's wrong.
Yeah. Shh. I'm supposed to... What? Yeah, no, that's fair. Actually, there's not 4 Sunday games. There's only 3 Sunday games.
2
because
Monday games.
There's 2 on Monday, and I didn't mention the Monday game, so the pair of you can get in the bin, can't you?
It's a lot of games.
There are a lot of games, and I wasn't wrong when I described any of that. So the pair of you can wind it in. Not enough to deal with you. Right, let's start this week's previews. The Friday game, which is actually the Thursday late game in the United States of America. 49ers at Seahawks is the game. And I say it every week. I always pick one, don't I, where I go, this one looks like it should be really, really straightforward. But this one looks like it should be really, really straightforward, Dan.
I think so. Since Brock Purdy's come in, the 49ers have beaten the Dolphins sort of 38-10, and then the Bucs 35-7. So they've absolutely trounced these 2 teams. And I know it's not just the offense, and the quarterback will have to do a bit more. And he did seem to get more comfortable as the game went on, and they were sort of opening the playbook up to him. You can see, and he just looks really comfortable and really competent. And if you took the name away, actually, he looked like a seasoned vet. I know Dave thinks the Seahawks are going to round into form at some point and maybe make a sort of solidify and try and get the final push to get to the playoffs. I'm not convinced at all. I think they've lost their run game. They've lost their offensive line. It's not playing as well as it was. The ratings are all really low. That's why Geno's having to be more aggressive because he's having to get the ball out sooner, and he does need a bit of time. And the run game has completely collapsed. So Kenneth Walker has disappeared off the face of the earth. And they're running DJ Dallas back there, and it's just not as effective. And without that, he looks more susceptible to a pass rush. And oh my, what a pass rush is coming in now.
Yeah.
So it's a real strength of the 49ers against a real weakness of the Seahawks. And I really like the 49ers. I think I've been very clear on that. I can't see this anything but a 49ers win, and I'm really surprised that they're only giving up 3 points in the game on the line, Dave.
I think if the Seahawks are going to have any hope at all, they're going to have to run the ball all day. They're going to have to establish a run and see if I can open up the run game for them. I did see that Kenneth Walker actually trained this week, so potentially he's going to be back for it. But the Niners just look so good. So, I mean, what team at the moment could really match up with them for confidence, and maybe only the Lions? And I could see that being either. That would be a cracking matchup, but potentially happen in the playoffs. So.
I mean, for me, this one, as I said right at the beginning, looks really straightforward for all of the reasons that you've mentioned. But I think they're just better, aren't they, than Niners on both sides of the ball? Even with a third-string quarterback who was the final pick in the draft, who's come in and, for the first time, he becomes the first quarterback in history. I don't know whether you picked this up. The first quarterback in history to beat Tom Brady at the first time of asking. So he was picked last in the draft and becomes the first quarterback in history to beat Tom Brady first time out. And I don't think that's down to him entirely. I think it's probably down to just how good the Niners are. But I can't see, as it stands, I can't see anybody more likely to make it to the Super Bowl than the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll just have to wait and see. Right, predictions all round, please. Dan.
49ers fairly comfortably. I've looked at a bet builder which is San Francisco -2.5 and under 43 points, because I think they'll just shut the Seahawks down.
Tight.
That's 2-1. So I think that's probably my tip, but definitely the 49ers.
Yeah, definitely the 49ers for me too. And Dave, what about you? Which way are you going with this? If you say the Seahawks, I'm literally getting in a car and driving down there to punch you.
Don't send it.
Interesting. No, I wasn't going to say that. It's so tempting right now. Anyway, I mean, this is a rubber podcast, I guess, so maybe not. But what I was going to say was 49ers definitely, but it's actually the second quarterback to beat Tom Brady the first time of asking, because I did it the first time I played Madden with Teddy Bridgewater in 2015.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, okay. All right, I'll give it to you.
Real life, you're probably correct.
Yeah, real life, I'm definitely correct. In Kino Fantasy Land, I'm definitely not. Right, okay.
It was a big day for the franchise.
It was a huge day for the franchise. Right, let's move on to the next lot of games. Colts at Vikings is the first game on Saturday. That's Saturday at 6 o'clock. Before we get on to the preview, need to talk to you about the pub this week. So for those of you that listen to the podcast regularly, and if you don't, welcome along. I'm going to explain it to you. Don't worry about it. We have support from a pub in Stockport called the Nook and Broom. They're in a place called Bramall, which is just south of Stockport, and they offer fantastic deals in association with the podcast. Those deals are, if we name an anytime touchdown scorer in normally the 6 o'clock Sunday, 9:25 Sunday games, you get a free pint if you're in the pub when it happens, right? Really straightforward. This week, that offer has been extended out, Dan, to include the two Saturday games and the two Sunday games. So it's the 6 and 9 o'clock games effectively on the Saturday and the same on the Sunday. And if we name an anytime touchdown scorer, you get a free pint. I mean, don't get much better than that, really.
Well, you can. I can top it. There's an extra offer as well.
You're kidding.
So, no. Because last week, Dave picked Odell Beckham Jr. to be an anytime touchdown scorer in the Giants-Eagles game, even though he plays for neither team.
Yeah.
The chaps down at the pub have found that hilarious, and they've offered that if OBJ scores an anytime touchdown anywhere for anyone this season, you will get a free pint if you're in the pub. The ultimate anytime touchdown scorer. Although news today says he's probably not going to sign anyone until March, but we can live in hope. You never know.
So well done,
Can
Dave.
I have T.Y. Hilton come in as an alternative for that?
No,
you
could have done it if you'd have said that last week, if you'd been more sensible.
Yeah, instead of picking OBJ.
Could have looked brilliant, couldn't it?
Is OBJ at any stage. So if he signs for anybody, even in the postseason, any stage, OBJ scores a touchdown, it's a free pint if you're in the Nook and Broom when it happens. 100%. I mean, that is not bad at all. Not bad at all. Let's get on to the Saturdays at the Vikings, shall we? Indianapolis Colts at Dave's Vikings, and therefore it probably makes sense to let Dan go first.
The Saturdays on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It is written, isn't it? It is written. They're going to get absolutely spanked. I have zero faith in the Vikings postseason. I've been really clear on that. That they will, the teams in their division will cause them a massive problem, and I don't think they've fixed it. Although I do buy into Dave's theory that they're just lulling people to think that so that they can surprise them on the big day. We'll see. The Colts are rubbish. They're not in contention. The Vikings are at home. They're the better team. They should be lining up for the playoffs. They just need to be aggressive. They've been really good against really average or bad teams this season. That's why their record's so good. The Colts offer nothing to worry the Vikings, and I can't believe the Vikings are only giving away the same points as the 49ers.
Before we go to Dave, what I would like to say, dear listener, is this. There have been several other points this season where Dan has been very, very, very certain that the Colts were going to lose. And what's happened on those occasions, Dan?
Well, they lost against the Eagles, didn't they?
Yeah,
they lost against the Steelers when you picked them to beat the Steelers. They didn't.
Yeah,
I picked the Steelers to beat them. No, I'm pretty good against the Colts this year. Yeah, shit, it's easy.
But yeah, but they've cost us a bit of cash as well. I'm not wrong in that. They have cost us money.
Chiefs. Yeah. It was the ultimate train wrecker, wasn't they? Weren't they? And that's probably why I've declared vengeance on them.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But since then, they've really done us loads of favours. I can't see anything from the Colts really. Taylor's probably back, but surely the Vikings have got enough to stop that.
Are we getting, Dave, Kirk O'Chains, or are we getting Kirk Cousins? Are we getting the fourth quarter cutthroat, or are we going to get Kirk Cousins? That's the big question.
So Kirk Cousins can't be blamed for what happened over the weekend. That wasn't on him, and it's not often I will actually exonerate him, but he threw for a record number of yards in a Vikings game to Justin Jefferson, 223 yards. He stayed in the pocket, he got smashed up, and basically tried to drive us back into the game. A fake punt and a play to a right tackle on a sweep ended the game. Right. The Vikings have given up over 400 yards in the last 5 games. Again, a franchise record.
Why does this sound like you're about to pick the Colts?
Nothing's changed this week. I expected us to fire our defensive coordinator, or at least make a change in terms of who's calling the plays. But nothing's happened. So, all in all, definitely take Jonathan Taylor to score a touchdown against us, but we should beat them. Just faking you out a little bit there.
Yeah, there was a level of concern there, Keno. I'm going to be honest with you from both of us.
I'm under orders to pick correctly and not just for shits and giggles this week, right? So don't worry, I'll do it okay.
He's so grumpy when he's ill.
I don't know who he picked.
We'll get clarity on that right now. Dan, who are you picking?
Vikings.
Okay.
Easy.
Dave, who are you picking?
I'm picking the Vikings.
Eric was absolutely, my dog, my German Shepherd downstairs, absolutely. In fact, he might. He's probably asking to go outside. That's probably what's happening. But we're all stuck in this room chatting about
producer.
American football. Off you go, producer. Disappear. He's gone. To be fair, he's left a parting gift as well. I won't describe it to you, but it involved a finger. So you're picking. The Vikings. Dave's picking the Vikings, although he did try and throw us a curveball. I'm picking Vikings. I can't see it going any other way.
There's another nice one here, which is Vikings minus 2.5 and under 47 points, because I think the Vikings will get up, and I don't think the Colts can do much. And that's 2-1 as well. So I think that's a cracking little double.
All right, good stuff. And anytime touchdown scorer for the pub. Who are we going to go with?
Got to be Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson, yeah.
Although Gilmore will be on Jefferson.
Yeah, he will. I think we might go to Hawkinson in the end zone this week. Get him on board a bit more.
Okay. I'm up for that.
So we're going to go Hawkinson over Jefferson. All right, so Hawkinson to grab an anytime touchdown score wins you a free pint if you're in the Nook and Broom in Bramall. Don't forget, we've got to pick one for the next game and the 2 Sunday game, 6 o'clock, 9:25. Obviously, they're not open at 1:15 in the morning. So let's move swiftly on to Ravens at Browns. Now, given that I went to Dan first for the Vikings, it's only fair that I go to Dave first for the Ravens. How do you see this one going, mate?
Sorry, who are the Ravens playing again?
The Browns.
The Ohio Browns.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Deshaun Watson looked like an Ohio River.
Careful.
It's been steaming garbage. Oh, mate, like, it's well known for it. I'm pretty sure that they could get some form of renewable energy off it if they actually built some kind of like convection system off the top of it and just like started absorbing the heat. It might actually be, the way forward. But yeah, the way Watson's looked, unless you're the Houston Texans, I can't really see the Browns beating anyone at the moment. I almost feel bad for Deshaun Watson. Like, he's looked that bad, and I don't have any sympathy for that man. So there you go. Definitely the Ravens, regardless of who's at quarterback. And you've got your running backs back, and your O-line starting to come back. So Ravens are starting to look a lot more like what I expected at the start of the year.
Yeah, the Browns are favourites. And I think it's because there's a bit of confusion over the quarterback situation that put minds at rest a little bit. Tyler Huntley is practicing, so I think he has to practice 2 clear days to clear the concussion protocol. He will, but Anthony Brown is a functional replacement. And like Dave said, I think in 2 quarters that Huntley was out against the Steelers, who are a much better defense than the Browns, certainly against the run. They only threw the ball 6 times because they ran it for over 200 on the ground because they did have Dobbins back after sort of 2 knee surgeries. He's a real Jenga piece in that Ravens offense, because with the line playing well, a player like him who's an old-fashioned sort of scat back who can take the ball on a short pass, who can run the ball at the middle. He's a rare beast, J.K. Dobbins, and he's a very talented guy. Compare him with Gus Edwards, who's an absolute tank up the middle, and they're hard to stop, and the Browns are terrible against the run. So they're great as a pass rushing team, but we're not going to. The Ravens won't pass the ball; they don't need to. And the Ravens defense, I've written down that the Ravens defense is starting to look like the best defense going into the AFC playoffs. I really think that the addition of Roquan Smith it's freed up Patrick Queen. I think those two, as a linebacking duo, are probably now as good as there is in the AFC. I think there's a couple of NFC teams that have got some decent ones as well, but in the AFC, I think the Ravens, with the secondary, with Marcus Williams back, with Kyle Hamilton playing well, with Chuck Clark back in there, the cornerbacks are covered, so Calais Campbell's having an absolutely outstanding season at the front. The Ravens look a top defense, and I don't think the Browns are going to do much against them. I can't see the Browns scoring more than 20 points. So the Ravens have just got to score 20 points to win the game. And I think the Ravens should do that, and I'd back them to win.
Seems more than fair. I don't think I've got anything to add really other than predictions, please. We're going Ravens. I'm going Ravens. Dan?
Ravens for me.
Dave?
Don't do it.
Definitely Ravens, mate.
Heart-stopping pauses. Tormund Giants pain. Heart-stopping pauses.
There's a nice little double bet here. Again, it's around 2-1 as a double, but it's the Ravens plus 7.5 because they're not favourites. But that might change once the news comes out that it's not going to be Anthony Brown that's starting, it's Tyler Huntley. And under 43.5 points total is 15-8. And I think if the Ravens lose, it'll be a 2017 game either way. So the 7.5 points is ridiculous, and take that.
Right, anytime touchdown scorer for Ravens at Browns if you want a free pint at the pub. Dan, who you going with?
I'd go J.K. Dobbins, I think.
Mm-hmm. Dave, anybody that you would pick?
I'd definitely go with J.K. Dobbins.
I'm not going to argue against you two on this one, especially the Ravens fan who's watched more minutes of the Ravens than I have this season, that's for certain. So we'll go J.K. Dobbins. That works for me. Cool. So if you're at the Nook and Broom on Saturday, don't forget free pint. If Hockenson or Dobbins go in for a touchdown in the 6 o'clock or 9:30, I think it is 9:30 games. Sunday 1:15. So overnight Saturday into Sunday is Dolphins at Bills. Now, this could be an absolute corker. If they decide to go toe-to-toe here, if they decide to just go all-out attack for 4 quarters, this could be an incredible fixture. Dan, do you think it'll go like that? And are you in agreement that it could be right up there with one of the games of the season?
It could be. I honestly don't think it will. And there's a couple of reasons. One, that the Dolphins have been just stopped a little bit the last couple of weeks. And I've looked back at, as I do, I've looked back at what the 49ers did to them first of all, and then what the Chargers did. And the Chargers just copied what the 49ers did for the remainder of that game, and that was they jammed the receivers at the line of scrimmage. So the timing was off for Tua. and he's looked really inaccurate, really slow, and his passes haven't been on time, and it's just because they've disrupted the route at the point of scrimmage. So you can contact a wide receiver within the first 5 yards, it's not a penalty. So if you jam someone there, if it's a 1-2-3 pass, they're not where they should be.
Yeah. And
it's very simple, and it is coachable around. And the Bills aren't great in the secondary, but they have got some players back this week. There's also going to be 7 inches of snow in the game, and it's definitely not going to be moved. So this is going to be a frosty, lower than expected scoring game. I think doesn't take away from the fact I think it'll be an intriguing game to watch.
How do we know it's definitely not going to be moved?
Because my cousin's got tickets and he's been told the game definitely won't be moved, and they're all going.
Fair enough. Let's hope it doesn't get moved last minute, like
it's
like
not
it did
storm,
the last
so,
snowstorm.
Yeah, the river, the lake snow that came in a few weeks ago isn't severe. This is just a winter snow, so it's a flurry more than anything. So they will play the game, but it will be icy temperatures, very wintry. When these two played in earlier in the season, it was in Miami. It was 90 degrees, and the Bills were gassed. This is not going to be the case here, and the Bills will probably look a bit too strong, I think, but probably not as high as people think.
Okay, Dave.
So, with the fact that it's a snow game, it is interesting because earlier this season, I think the Dolphins pretty much fried the Bills, like literally left them out in the sun to kind of swing out there.
Cooked them.
This time around, you're right in what you're saying about the Dolphins' offense having been worked out. They're disrupting things at the line of scrimmage, but there are ways of getting players open. I reckon they're going to adjust to actually playing with some pick routes and getting themselves more free receivers. They'll also probably go with multiple players running routes from the slot instead of having them out wide. And I think they'll just adjust. Is Waddle back yet?
Yeah, he's trained a few times this week. I think he'll play definitely. I worry about Waddle that they're not letting him get 100% though. Yeah. The problem the Dolphins have got is they've got to keep playing. They've got a tough run in, and they need to keep winning because the Patriots somehow keep winning, which is.
I think the key to this will actually be the Dolphins' run game, and if I can get their run game going, there's not that much of it on film because McDaniels just loves to call passing plays, right? But there's every opportunity for this to be a low-scoring game, but a competitive one. Although I think the Bills will come out on top in the end simply because Josh Allen is better suited to these conditions than Tua. I can see him being able to add to the run game a lot more easily than Tua can. I mean, Tua, previously I've seen him get a horrific injury trying to hold someone off when his hip dislocated. So I don't think that he's going to want to be getting too involved in the run game himself, not with the concussions either. So just in terms of the physical capabilities of a quarterback coping with that colder weather, and it's something that Tua just won't be used to either. I mean, he's been playing out in Miami. I think it's going to be hard for them, but I think the Dolphins will keep it competitive, but the Bills will ultimately win out.
Yeah,
it will be much lower scoring than people expect. Dan's bang on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I still think the Bills are probably the better team out of the two of them as well, so that helps out. I think you're both right. I think with the weather can be a big factor. We joke about it quite a bit, don't we? But actually, it's a great leveler when you've got 7 inches of snow on the ground and it's -5. It becomes a different game completely. So I'm going to go Bills 2. So is that Bills all round? We all pick Bills.
I've struggled a bit with this one because the Dolphins are getting 6.5 points, and I think it will be close. I'm going to go with the Bills because I think, like Dave just said there, it'll come down to the Miami run game. The Bills are really good against the run. Yeah. So I think, and actually they're a better run defense than a pass defense. So I am going to go Bills, yeah.
Right.
I think that the big chance, when I was speaking about the running game, I should have been more explicit. I think the short passing game will come into it as well. I think the pitches, tosses, the screen game, they're going to be trying to hit them from different angles and stopping people from jamming receivers by basically shortening up their game massively. And because it's a snow game, it'll be okay for them to do that. They will because I mean Tyreek Hill's so fleet-footed. If anyone can move quickly on snow, it will be him. So it will be interesting to see if they do hit anything long. But yeah, I think ultimately, I just think the Bills are better suited to the conditions, and that'll be what brings them out on top.
We've seen that dink-dunk offense from the Bills already this season. We know how capable they are of doing it. So yeah, that's a good shout. So Bills all round, but we think it's going to be tight. So under, Dan?
Under, yeah. Well, you can get Miami plus 8.5. And the total under 47.5 in the game at 15-8, which lights up the Christmas tree for me.
Yeah, I'll take it. Let's move on. Right, it's Dave's Lions at Dan's Jets is the next one that we're going to be looking at, which is the Sunday 6 o'clock game, which means we need an anytime touchdown scorer for the Nook and Broom as well. We're going to do this one slightly differently because Dan is a fan of the Jets. You got a soft spot for the Jets, haven't you?
Yeah.
You have. And Dave, you've definitely got a soft spot for the Lions at the minute, haven't you?
I've got a soft spot for Man Campbell.
Oh yeah, MCDC. I can understand it. So I'm going to get you to try and duke this one out. All right. I want Dan to tell me why the Jets are going to win this game, and I want Dave to tell me why the Lions are going to win this game. And the look on Dan's face straight away says, "You've sold me a wrong one here, Bradford." All right. So who's going first? Should we go with home side first? Jets first?
Do you want to swap, Dan?
Yeah.
Do you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's swap.
Oh, so you're gonna articulate why you think that Dave's Lions are gonna win,
Yeah.
and he's gonna say why he thinks your Jets are gonna win.
Yeah.
All right, off you go then, Dan.
Dan's just been back through multiple podcasts, understanding that I just say something to produce content. So I may as well carry on doing that here, right?
Yeah. Okay, that works for me. All right, carry on, then, boys.
I think the Lions are better. I think they're playing, at the moment, if nobody would want to play them in the playoffs. I don't even think the 49ers or the Eagles would really like to face them. And the Jets, a bit like the Giants and a bit like the Seahawks, that early season rhythm they had seems to have been found out and lost. And I think the Jets are struggling without the running game now. I think they've really started to show up there. And although they've been in the games against the Vikings, their defense kept them in that game and kept giving them the ball back, and they still couldn't take advantage of it. I think they had 5 red zone visits and they scored 3 points. They should have beaten the Vikings. They couldn't quite get it over the line. The Lions just look like they can score from anywhere, and they've now added Jameson Williams, who I picked up in my Dynasty League at the start of the season, even though he's injured, he's going to miss most of the season because he is an absolute lights-out wide receiver, or he will be, I think. And his first pass received in the NFL was a 41-yard touchdown on Sunday. So you add in him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, to DJ Chark. They've got DeAndre Swift finally healthy. They've got Jamal Williams, who's the leading touchdown scorer as a running back. Jared Goff's playing like the Jared Goff that took the Rams to the Super Bowl a few years ago. Their line looks tremendous. They're throwing passes to the right guard. Did you see that Dan Campbell sort of said he was watching the Mexican Wave and didn't hear the offensive coordinator call the pass to Penei Sewell? And he went, "What the F are we doing?"
Later,
when
Dan.
he caught it, yeah. They're a great fun team. I like the Jets. I just there's a bit of confusion. I think Zach Wilson's going to be back in as backup because Mike White isn't 100%. I think he's got broken with a bit of the Herbert thing. They're not protecting these guys particularly very well. The Lions are scoring 25 points regular. The Jets aren't. Lions for me.
This is interesting. They've also got the rookie, haven't they, who is right up there for Defensive Player of the Year. Is it Aiden Hutchinson?
Yeah.
So I saw that his name has been mentioned in a load of articles this week because they're obviously getting to that point of the season where there's not a lot going on in terms of ups and downs and who's going to make it, who's not going to make it. So they're trying to write something, and that sort of Defensive Player of the Year stories come out. And I did see Aiden Hutchinson mentioned in a few of those as well.
He's mentioned because he was a high draft pick. He was taken second overall.
Yeah.
He should have been taken first overall, really. But I think the Jaguars knew because he was a Detroit boy, Hutchinson. I think they knew he wanted to play there. The best player on their defense is another rookie, and he's Rodrigo. I think he was a 4th round or 5th round pick linebacker. He is playing lights out at the moment. He won't get any credit because he's a late draft pick, but watch him on Sunday. He is a cannonball, that kid.
Love it. All right, so that's why the Lions are going to win it. Dave, why are the Jets going to win this one?
Okay, so Jared Goff has been playing incredibly well. However, the big vulnerability for Jared...
No, he said Jared. He definitely said Jared.
Yeah, what did you think I said?
Darren Goff.
Oh, we'll go with Darren Goff. Why not? Didn't he used to play cricket for Yorkshire?
Yeah.
Awesome. So Jared Goff has been playing to a very high level, but what it does struggle with is interior pressure. And they've got Quinnen Williams. I know he's injured.
He's out. I've got it here.
Okay, so the only second point I was going to make about why the Jets might potentially win this game is the psychological issue of the fact that if the Lions win, they go 500. And I don't think the Lions psychologically will get over becoming a 500 team. They've got more work to do to get there. They've been fighting back, but they've been fighting back from a dead and buried position. It's almost been garbage time for them, right? They've gone into games with the expectation that they can go and put on their best performance, and there's not been any expectations. People were talking about Dan Campbell potentially getting fired, which was nonsense because he clearly had a very positive impact. They're in every game. The offense has been outstanding for the Lions, yes, but the Jets' defense has also been pretty outstanding. And I think that if the Jets' offense can find something against the Detroit Lions' defense, which is 31st in the league, don't forget. So that there is the opportunity here for there to be some gains made by the Jets, regardless of who's playing. And it strikes me that when they're playing a vanilla defense, that's when the Jets actually pile up some yards, some points, and that's what the Lions play. That's their big weakness. They're multiple on offense, but I think that the strengths actually kind of collide with each other to an extent. That gives the Jets the opportunity, particularly with the fact that I think that the Lions will struggle to get over the hurdle of actually getting into the playoff picture.
Right, I'm just very aware that we are not getting through these quite as quickly as I thought we were going to get through them. We've still got 3 more to go. So predictions all round, please. Dan.
I think what Dave's saying is right, but I think that's what's happened to the Jets. Since they become favourites in the game, they can't win them. Lions for me.
Dave.
Lions.
Yeah, it's the Lions for me as well. Just run of form, I think. Momentum with the Lions, despite having tried valiantly to argue to the contrary. Okay, anytime touchdown scorer in this one, please.
I'd be tempted to go Swift or Jamal Williams.
All right, well, DeAndre Swift gets the pick then as the anytime touchdown scorer. Don't forget free pint if you're in the pub when he scores. This is the Nook and Broom in Bramwell. If you, for whatever reason, didn't hear me say it earlier on, South Manchester, get yourself in there. Really, really decent on a Sunday evening for the NFL. Bengals at Bucs is the 9:25 game. And the Bucs were so smelly last week. They were just terrible. And the Bengals appear to be just maybe turning a corner in terms of form. Maybe. Dan, help me out.
You're right. I'd love the Bucs to stand up here. The Bengals and the Ravens are on the same record now. The Ravens have a better head-to-head. They beat the Bengals. They play the Bengals week 18. It's going to be a cracking game. The Ravens are trying to hang on with Lamar out to try and keep that record ahead. And we need the Bengals to drop a game. We needed them to lose against the Titans. They didn't. The Chiefs, they didn't. Now they're playing the Bucs. It looked like a real gauntlet they had. It doesn't look that way anymore. They are playing really well. However, they haven't got T. Higgins, or he's only day-to-day in training. Tyler Boyd is only day-to-day in training. So all those weapons they have, Joe Mixon isn't fully back yet. All those weapons they have aren't 100%. You're just wondering, at some point, are we too long in the season now for the Bucs to make a statement game? Because the only time they've won has been really scrappy. When they've played good teams, they've been destroyed, really. I can't think of anything other than they keep it into a one-score game and Brady gets the ball last. The Bucs beat the Bengals as much as I want them to. I think this is Cincinnati. They look like a class team, and the Bucs look like they might even make the playoffs. Yeah,
I watched the Bucs and just held my head in my hands for long periods last weekend. I think, look, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but it feels very much to me like Tom Brady has got a lot going on in his life, and I'm not quite sure we're seeing the same level of commitment out of him that we've seen in previous seasons, and I think that's reflecting in performances. And I think just from a psychological point of view, if you're a member of that team and you've got Tom Brady, who you know can perform at X level, but you're not getting the same kind of commitment to the cause that you were getting out of him in previous seasons, I think subconsciously everybody takes a backward step. And maybe, despite him being the greatest player the NFL has ever seen, despite him being the GOAT, he could potentially be the problem here for the Bucs. And until that gets sorted out, I can't see them getting any better. Dave, how do you see this one going?
I'm more than happy to move on with the Bucs condemned. That has been, quite frankly, terrible at the moment.
Yeah. All right, good. So Bengals all round, yeah?
Bengals all around.
Lovely stuff. Any value in this at all?
Yeah, the Bengals are only giving up 3 points.
Take it.
Seems a bit crazy. And the point line is 43. I can see them gunning that. Although the Bucs can't score 17 points, so I think you'd probably go with on the under. But I would just go the Bengals outright. I think.
Good stuff. Anytime touchdown scorer. Bengals at Bucs.
Chase.
Yeah, maybe. Dave, any advance on Jamar Chase? Yeah, it's hard.
He caught one back on Sunday.
Pirine, the backup running back.
What's that, mate? Pirine.
Yeah, Pirine. That's correct, isn't it? They're running back. Yeah, I'd unless Mixon's back, which I don't think he is. I'd go with Sam G. Pirine.
Who are we picking then, Pirine or Chase?
I'm up for Pirine, really.
All right, let's do that. We'll go with Dave. If you get it wrong, blame him. He's available for you at P.O. Box Birmingham. Right, moving on again to Monday. So the Sunday late game, Monday overnight game, Giants at Commanders. Oh, my God.
You go first, Liam.
Yeah. Do you know what? We've already spoken about this earlier on the podcast, and I'm desperate for the Giants to make the playoffs, but their run of performances, not great. They have made an addition this week, haven't they? They've grabbed the guy from, is it Philadelphia? They've taken a wide receiver. They've definitely bolstered the wide receiver ranks, and which is a good thing because there's been no wide receivers to aim at all. So they needed something. I just can't see how this Giants side beats the Commanders, who have just quietly got the job done this season. And every time they've been written off, they've come up with a result. If there was a game that I thought the Giants might potentially turn it round in, it would be this one. I just can't see how that's going to happen as it stands. So really straightforward. It's going to be tight. The Giants will come back to it in the fourth quarter like they have done in every game, but I think the game will be done and dusted by the time we get to that point, so it'll be the Commanders for me. Dan?
Some hope, I suppose, for you is that the Commanders were the better team when they met 2 weeks ago. But it took them it was a last-second touchdown pass to take the game to overtime, and then both teams really played for the tie, because a tie didn't neither of them any harm, really, at that point. It doesn't now. But I think the Giants at that point threw everything at the Commanders to get that lead, and I think once you've seen it, I don't think you can pull it over them again. And when it's a tight game like this, and it is a tight game, it's a divisional game. They know each other well. They play very similar types of football. I think this would be a really good game to watch. It's the type of game I really enjoy watching because it's just a bit messy. But the best unit in this is the Washington defense by some way.
Yeah.
And at this time of year, in these sort of conditions that it will be, give me the Commanders, I think.
Dave?
I'm going to go with the tie.
Okay. Dave's
No, I'll go with Commanders. I just think Taylor Heineke's got that.
Yeah.
That little vibe of he gets the job done, and he believes in himself, and that self-belief goes a very, very long way. And I think that the Giants are starting to tail off a little bit down the stretch, which is a shame, but it happens when you're having to constantly use your running back because they do get worn down over the season. You need to be able to rotate, and you can't have everything just going through them. So,
yeah,
one of those things, I'm afraid.
I think that's more than fair. So we're all going with the Commanders then. Value?
Commanders to win and under 43 points, 3-1.
3-1.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah, I quite like that as well. Although I'm not gambling on NFL ever again. Just so we're clear, every time I follow the betting advice that we provide, the bet loses. Every time I don't, we seem to do well. So I think if I just steer clear, it's more beneficial for everybody else. Final game is Rams at Packers. Dave, do you want to go first on this one?
Wouldn't it be great if Baker got another win? Like, I can't see it happening. I think that was a bit of a one-off. There was an awful lot that went right for the Rams in the last game, which let Baker get to that. And I think that basically this is a massive game for Green Bay, because I think that if they lose this, then we'll see love for the rest of the year. So I think Green Bay will do everything they can to win. I don't think a lot of those players out there want to particularly be playing with a quarterback who probably won't be as good as Rodgers, although Rodgers has been severely limited this season, obviously. But all in all, I think the Packers are too good for the current rendition of what the Rams are. And I think ultimately they're probably going to come out on top. They seem to have got a little bit of something from Christian Watson, so we'll see if he can maintain it. Personally, I hope that, he tears a hamstring and then he's never the same again, but I'm a horrible human being, so there you go.
Can't let it go, can you? I think you're right. I look at trends quite a lot, and when I look at the sort of the Bucs, who came back from 16-3 down to beat the Saints in the last two drives and won, it didn't mean they were very good, because for the majority of that game against the Saints, they were absolutely garbage, and the following week, they were absolutely garbage, and I think we're going to get exactly the same thing from the Rams here. It was great to see that they're playing for the coach. I think the coach is a good guy. I think Sean McVay is a real good addition to the league. I hope they do sort of keep it together. The players are really playing for him. You can see that. That was good. But the Packers are the biggest favourites we've discussed here in this.
Are they?
Yeah, they're giving up 7 points, which is
what?
A bit funny. But it's the time of year. It's at Lambeau. They won their last game, didn't they? They've had a bit of a bye week. The Packers are a better team. Still technically, I suppose, in the hunt, just about. The Rams aren't. For me, the Packers will just run all over the Rams. That they can't stop the run. They start to put anything on the ground. I can't see the Rams really doing much to hurt them. Baker, in this weather, watch out. This will be a turnover heavy game. I can see him giving up 2 or 3 at least, and it's Packers pretty comfortably for me. Although the bet I've written down is you can get 9.5 points with the Rams and under 47 points.
So you've gone Packers. Yeah. Dave's gone Packers. I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to go with Baker here. I think, I know Dan's giving me that look, and I'm sure that if Keno was on camera, he'd be giving me that look as well.
Got released by the Panthers.
Yeah, I know.
And the Browns.
But released on Monday, picked up Tuesday,
like
one training session Wednesday.
Took for a drink on Tuesday.
Clutched Thursday.
Threw a touchdown on Wednesday.
Yeah, 2 in fact, in the fourth quarter to win the game. I'm going to go with Baker. I'm going to say this is his opportunity to show that what happened at Carolina was not the Baker Mayfield that is the real Baker Mayfield. I think this is his opportunity to prove that. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
We were just about to have a clean sweep of picks.
Yeah,
I thought it's going to be Dave that ruins it.
No, it's going to be Liam.
Oh
no, it's going to be Liam. Now, Liam. Producer Bell has just flashed up a message on a screen in front of us, and it said 2 things that have confused you, haven't they?
Yeah.
Do you know what? If you press that button there, you'll know what a stab is. Just as the 2-minute warning siren goes off as well, which means it is time for our Utter Punts of the Week nominations. Who are you going with this week, Daniel?
DeAndre Hopkins.
Oh,
and other cast members of the Woody Woodpecker offense. So DeAndre Hopkins is the undoubted leader in that team. He's the senior guy. He's the class player in that. Kyler Murray goes out after the 3rd play, but they still look okay, and they're still beating the Patriots. They're still doing really well. He catches the ball over the middle, runs around with it in one hand, doesn't secure the ball. Ball's fumbled, recovered by the Patriots. They score. The game's over. He's laughing. He then had a penalty of illegal shift where he didn't set himself. Laughing, funny. Their right tackle, Kelvin Beachum, experienced player on the offensive line, gets flagged for a false start. Laughing, funny. The coach, Kingsbury, clearly no one likes him. They're all trying to get him sacked. His eyeballs are popping out of his head on the sideline. Hollywood Brown, they gave up a 1st-round draft pick for him this year. Twice got flagged for illegal shift, didn't set. Laughing, funny. They're trying to get their coach sacked. I think it's disgusting. DeAndre Hopkins, you should know better. You're just back from your drug ban. and you'll be lucky if someone else gives you a job or to punt.
Yeah, fair enough. I had a choice of two. I thought about naming my nephew this week.
Oh, come on.
Well, he's how old is he now? 20 months?
21 months now.
21 months. And he broke your nose this week, Dan.
He did.
Yeah, he did. A full flying back headbutt, and he's broken your nose.
Yeah.
However, I then realised that I didn't want to name him Utter Punt for doing something that most people have wanted to do for a very, very long time.
And he'll come and get you if you do.
Yeah, that's true. Flying reverse headbutt on me. So instead, I've gone with Jeff Saturday. And I've gone with Jeff Saturday.
Welcome aboard the Saturday train.
Because he said that he was unwavering in his desire to take on the Indianapolis Colts job on a full-time basis. Now, given the performances and the results that the Indianapolis Colts have achieved under Jeff Saturday, that makes it both arrogant and delusional. So, therefore, utter punt. Dave.
So it was touched upon earlier, but there was a moment in the week after what was a disappointing game for the Vikings against the Lions, where Dan Campbell was being asked about the game-sealing drive, where Penei Sewell, the right tackle, caught the ball on a sweep, gave a third down, and essentially buried the game. And as Dan was alluding to, Dan Campbell said that he wasn't paying attention when the call was offered to him, that he was focused on the wave in the crowd, and like. Whilst I'm nominating him for Punt of the Week, it's actually with admiration. It's like it's exactly the kind of thing that I would do. It's continuing mind games after the point, making out that like, oh, you can't possibly judge me on the fact that we played that play. I didn't know it was happening, so don't expect that in the playoffs, people. And it was very much a matter of Dan Campbell setting himself up to not only having absolutely ripped the Michael out of the Vikings by doing it and doing it to great effect, but then also undermining the decision. Dan Campbell, a punt of the week, absolutely brilliant.
So what we're saying here is that MCDC, he's a punt, but he's your kind of punt, Dave. That's what we're saying. Look, it's been an absolute pleasure. Sorry it's taken a little bit longer to get through these than it normally has, but with 8 games to preview, they do take a little bit longer. Don't forget you can follow us all week long. We're on Instagram and Twitter. Just search for Utter Punts, and don't forget to share us with a friend. If you've got someone that you watch the NFL with, give them a shout, give them the heads up, point them in our direction. We would love to have you along. Dan, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Dave, thank you very much indeed.
Not really a pleasure this time, mate.
No, he's poorly. He's very poorly. Thanks very much indeed. We will see you next week.